Fresh from collaborations with Jay-Z and LL Cool J, also doesn't mind talking dirty on her debut album. Named after from collaborations with Jay-Z and LL Cool J, also doesn't mind talking dirty on her debut album. Named after
deeper than the pussy of a bitch 6 feet. Stiff dicks feel sweet in this little petite. Young bitch from the street, guaranteed to stay down. Used to bring work out of town on great.
Inside the Jeep necking, doing my thing, fly nigga, you a Scarface king. Bitches grab your tetas, get them niggas for they cheddar. Fuck it, Gucci sweaters and Armani lovers. Floors the rocks like the size of Fort Knox. 4 carats, the ice rocks. Pussy banging like Versace low.
M.A.F.I.A, Little Kim celebrates sex and the single girl on her debut solo album.
You can't stop a chick from
I talk about the realness, which is sexuality, and I talk about money. I talk about, I talk about the realness, what's going on in today's society.
Also doesn't mind talking dirty on her debut album, named after her special place.
Put my hand on his leg, with sex in his eyes, he turned and then he said,
It's basically about I'm in a club and I meet a guy and he's trying to get me home and I'm just going through like the whole scenery, how we go through the valet park and I'm in his car.
Out of all the female rap beefs that I've come across in my lifetime, in my opinion, nothing was more catastrophic than Lil Kim and Foxy Brown. And it's crazy too because this is another case where female rappers, or just rappers in general, started off as friends, but then media or the people behind them just made it seem like they were just beefing with one another, you know what I'm saying? And the crazy thing about it is technically this is still going on today, you know what I'm saying? So let's just jump right into it because it's a lot to the story.
So before I actually get to the story of the beef, let me tell you a little bit about the beginning and how both Kim and Foxy just got into the hip-hop game. So let's start with Lil Kim. So, by the time she was a teenager, Lil Kim attended the Sarah J. Hill Vocational High School for 2.5 years. And so around that time too, her and her friends used to skip school, just working their rhymes and whatnot too, you know what I'm saying? And so because of the fact that she wasn't finishing up all her schoolwork, she transferred to the Brooklyn College Academy. Now, this was the same school with Nas and Foxy Brown attended as well too. More on that later. 1994, the Notorious B.I.G., he heard Lil Kim rap one time, and he pretty much took her under her wing, and he included her into his own protege group, the Junior Mafia, which was with Lil C's, Capone, Chico,
to motivate you.
So on
He
and
always
so on.
wanted anyone to succeed. He always wanted everybody to have a better life for themselves. He was just hungry. He just wanted to make the album. If he could get 500,000 fans, he used to say he happy.
So at the same time too, while Kim was getting ready for her Broad Light to shine, you had Foxy Brown on the other hand. She was a teenager too, rhyming and whatnot too, writing rhymes. And she was in the Brooklyn College Academy as well too, which is where she met Lil Kim. And her and Kim were like the best of friends growing up at that time too. And around that time in the mid-90s, she had won a talent contest in the Park Slope neighborhood in Brooklyn. And she caught the attention of the Trackmasters, and they pretty much included her on LL Cool J's classic posse cut, I Shot Ya remix off the Mrs. Smith album. And around that time too, around the mid-90s, she was like appearing on other people's projects as well too, you know what I'm saying? While she was doing that, you had Lil Kim, she was doing her thing with the Junior Mafia and shit too. The Junior Mafia had dropped the Conspiracy album in 95, and with that album, they had known for songs like Get Money and Players Anthem, but she pretty much stole the show with some of her rhymes as well too, you know what I'm saying? And you pretty much can say like 1995 to 1996 was just a setup for both women coming from Brooklyn, you know, because, you know, Foxy Brown, she was appearing on remixes at the time, like the Hooked on You remix with Silk, Tony Braxton's You're Making Me High, but it was the song in 1996 which was her breakthrough. Well, actually, two songs that appeared on a Nutty Professor soundtrack, and those are Case's Touch Me, Tease Me, and Jay-Z's Ain't No Nigga.
I just miss Rahi. Fuck around with your shade. Gabbana sipping pure J with the ill nana. Nigga, you fuck a rock world to the light. Fuck them Reebok boards, you made it known who your wife was. I got you frontin' in Armani sweaters before this rap shit when you was the levels and bullshit Berettas and E-classes with more.
And so with that being on, you know, there was a lot of labels bidding for her, trying to sign her. She ended up signing to Def Jam Records, you know, in the beginning of 1996. You know, as for Lil' Kim, you know, Kim was also doing her things on the remixes as well too. You know what I'm saying? Like, most definitely, like, she appeared on, you know, Total's No One Else remix and shit, which, you know, that was a pretty good remix. And she also had some soundtrack placements as well too. On January 9th, 1996, she appeared on the Don't Be a Menace to South Central or Drinking Your Juice in the Hood soundtrack with the song Time to Shine, produced by Clark Kent.
Brown nigga, chromed out six of shit. Bubbling, laying up with them Colombians. Oh, fuck no, I get dough, Fox Brown, mama. Jig suits from Gabbana. You ballin', nigga, who you callin'? Bob stupendous, tremendous. I been just a little bit more than the average whore. Cause I'm focused, I rock Versace lamps and sofas. You didn't know I like crocodile boots and
Pathetically, I push the pressure in your Jones. Bet you fall like a motor road burnout. Flip your jacks in the snitch it back to the cell of your block. HDM block.
Love that record. That was one of my favorite records and shit. And yeah, both of these women were caught the attention due to their styles, you know, their very hypersexual style with a lyrical style that can hold their own when it comes to the guys as well. Around that time as well too, you know, Foxy Brown, you know, she would still be appearing on a lot of other rap albums. You know, she appeared on Nas's It Was Written on about 2 songs. One of them was Watch Them Niggas, classic song in my opinion. And the other one was a song called Affirmative Action, which featured AZ and Cormega. This was like the original lineup for the Firm. You know, before Steve Stout took Cormega out and replaced him with Nature. You know what I'm saying? So both these women were trying to like get their albums together and get ready, you know, for their debut albums and shit too. And both records was coming out in November. Now this is kind of where things starts getting a little interesting, but at the same time, bear with me when it comes to this. So Hardcore was coming out, it was already set to come out November 12th, 1996, you know, and that album had came out and it peaked at number 11 on the US Billboard 200 and number 3 on the R&B Hip Hop Albums chart. Very good album. That's probably my favorite Lil' Kim album and shit too, you know what I'm saying? I mean, songs like No Time, Crush on You, you know what I'm saying? And everyone knows that iconic album cover. Then 1 week later, Foxy Brown's Ill Na Na album came out, you know, November 19, 1996. It peaked on number 7 on the Billboard 200 and also peaked at number 2 in the R&B Hip Hop Albums chart. Again, that's a very good album as well too. You know what I'm saying? Definitely love Foxy's performance on that record. You know, songs like Get Me Home, you know, the title track, Foxy Bells, all that shit, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, with both those albums coming out, you know, both albums pretty much got a lot of attention, you know what I'm saying, just based on Lil' Kim and Foxy Brown's style. And this is kind of where things get a little dicey. So fast forward to February of 1997, The Source did an issue with Lil' Kim and Foxy Brown, you know, calling it like a Delma and Louise. And this was supposed to have been like the promotion, because at the time there was talks that these two were trying to come out with a collab album. Like again, things were still cool between them, but like I said before, things were getting a little dicey and shit. So Foxy, she shouted Kim out on her M.A.F.I.A title track, and one of the times they do a cover story, the interviewer Gonzalez, she pretty much had to travel to DC to interview Lil Kim at the hotel, while she was touring with Junior Mafia. And then she was also going to interview Foxy Brown as well too, while she was promoting her M.A.F.I.A album in stores. And so Gonzalez says that Lil Kim was like pretty nice, she was like somebody's little sister, and she was very honest about, being at the interview and shit. So, but then when it came to Foxy Brown, it was like a different story, as I should say. She said, and I quote, "Even though she and I later became friends, she was very diva very early. I was going with her to her in-store the day the album came out. It took forever because Foxy wanted to get her nails done, so I took her there and then had a Lincoln Town car for us. A town car, not for Foxy. She didn't want to use a town car, she wanted to use a limo. I remember her distinctly saying, 'Do they use a town car for LL Cool J? I'm not using a town car. Perhaps the fame chasing came with this cause. Do they use a town car for LL Cool J? I'm not using a town car," unquote. So yeah, that was pretty interesting as well, and shit too. And we're gonna get more into that whole Foxy Brown incident, like throughout this whole review. So, with this album coming out, both albums coming out, and both albums reaching good sales, hardcore reaching double platinum sales, and then M.A.F.I.A hit the platinum status as well. Yeah, as both of them, enjoying their successes and whatnot, things was beginning to get a little dicey. For one, Kim felt that, Foxy was trying to take his style a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Because if you look at the both inserts of the album, they're pretty much wearing the same outfits or close to the same outfit and shit. You know what I'm saying? And DJ Clark Kent, he was talking about the feud, and he said, and I quote, "All of a sudden they just went cool. It was like, what the fuck happened? How did they become uncool? What happened that they weren't cool? Who said what? Who did what?" And unquote. And it's kind of crazy because like he worked with both of these acts, and he continued on saying like he never questioned the origin of the beef, while him saying, and I quote, "Would it sound weird to you if I never asked? It would sound weird because one of my cousins and I were producing for the other. Would it seem weird because I introduced one to Big and the other to Big's protege, and I'm producing both of them, DJing for Big, but I'm Jay-Z's producer? Or would it seem smart because I asked at some point, I have to take a side, but if I don't ask, I keep loving my cousin producing records and DJing here and doing what I do," unquote. But yeah, the media was just running with this and, speculating on what happened with the downhill between Lil Kim and Foxy Brown's relationships. Was it record labels? Was it personal beef? Niggas didn't know and shit, And even Kim Soro at the store said, and I quote, "It was more about two female rappers who were so similar, you can't help but compare them or group them together. It was never about their friendship. There's a long list of female MCs that will qualify as them and Louise hopeful before you get to Kim and Foxy. That narrative always exists in hip-hop, and it rarely gets to see the light of day." So yeah, man, like it was just like one day they were cool, one day they weren't cool and shit. And with after 1997, they really was not doing like a lot of those collabs with one another and shit like that too. And even like they were like even losing their mentors around that time too. Kim, she had lost Biggie in March 9th of 1997, and then Foxy and Jay-Z, their collabs became more infrequent post 1997 as well too. So it was just pretty cool, pretty interesting. But then there was some more stuff that was coming out from other people in their circle. Foxy Brown's brother Gavin, Pretty Boy Marchin, he did a 2011 interview with Vibe magazine, and he pretty much wanted to put the blame on Leo Cohen, where he said that he wanted to give Kim and Foxy $500,000 apiece to show up to the Hit Factory to record the Dumb and Louis project, but they never showed. You know what I'm saying? He said, and I quote, "I legitimately sat in the office 10 years removed from the situation." Someone said, "Hey Clark, I'll give you $1 million if you make that happen." Hey, you know, I sat there for a second, made a couple calls, and was like, nah, I didn't even get to have conversation with them per se. Just their respect to Kim. Like, nah, how about let's not even try that? You know what I'm saying? So, interesting. So, fast forward to 1999, January 26th to be exact, and Foxy Brown drops his second album, China Doll. You know what I'm saying? This album came out, it peaked at #1 on both the Billboard 200 and Top R&B Hip Hop Albums chart. Yeah, I know the story. This album is not really one of my favorite Foxy Brown albums and shit like that too. You know what I'm saying? But there were some interesting tracks here and there. One of them was a song called My Life. You know, that was a pretty decent song. And this is pretty much like the first mention of the whole Lil' Kim situation. And she said, and I quote, "You was my sister, we used to dream together. How we could make it real big, do our thing together. Huh, them and Louise together, remember them days? Them niggas we played, now we don't even speak. Went our separate ways, separate lives, lost friendship for pride playing the game." Unquote.
And them, they know who they are, this life is no joke. I was happy and broke, you was my sister. We used to dream together, how we could make it real big, do our thing together. Thelma and Louise together. Remember them days, them niggas we played? Now we don't even speak. Went our separate ways, separate lives, lost friendship for pride. Playing the game, about to forfeit. High price life, I can't afford it. My life.
And you know, with a lot of subliminals here and there, especially with the Thelma and Louise, she was just talking about where it went wrong with the Lil' Kim relationship and whatnot. So fast forward to July 13, 1999. You know, around this time, Kim was getting ready to release the Notorious B.I.G. album, which originally was supposed to have came out in 1999 instead of 2000, but you know, that album ended up getting bootlegged, but more on that later. So around that time too, you know, she actually appeared on her former Junior Mafia group member Lil C's solo debut album, The Wonderful World of Caesar Leo. And on that album, there was a song called Play Around. And this is when Kim fired the first shot. You know, also in that song too, you know, Puffy had this line where he said, and I quote, "Stop trying to sound like her two bitches."
Kiss the back of the head of the Royal Highness, Pocahontas, Mafia's behind us, ballin' like Utah. Didn't think a ghetto star could come this far, from pushing Buicks to candy apple red Jaguar. And
that was considered like to be the first shot that was aimed at Foxy Brown and stuff too, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, that was pretty much crazy. That was pretty much what a lot of people consider like the first hit off that. And also, fast forward to October 5th, 1999, Lil' Kim appeared on Mobb Deep's Quiet Storm remix, which came out that day. And she had a couple of shots here and there where she says, "I'm a leader, y'all are on some following shit. Coming into this game on some modeling shit. Bitches suck cock just to get on the top. I put 100% in every line I drop." Now, a lot of people thought that this line was aimed at Foxy, and this caused a response from Foxy, which stay tuned on that. But, you know, it was actually revealed that this is the line that was aimed at Charlie Baltimore. And, you know, at that time, Charlie Baltimore, again, was another female rapper that was under Biggie at one point, but at the same time, too, Biggie had passed away and her career was just always in a limbo.
Light as a rock, stay hard as a not for blocks, through hard tops in the parking lots where my rock like the sparkle lot. My Brooklyn style speak for itself like a wrestler, another notch under my.
And so she was also known to wear like the wigs and skimpy outfits, you know, just like Lil' Kim. And so this led to that Lil' Kim dissing Charlie Baltimore and made more personal reasons too, which you guys should know about that. But yeah.
Ill nana, death before dishonor. Born alone, die alone. My crew think I'm 7. Bought the planes I could fly alone. No security. Got the through the style on. Run up 5th when I wanna get my style on. Body some. Get the chair then I'll fry alone. Death probably only time I have a smile on. Simple. I either got the ears or the Pradas on. July 17, broken silence.
You know, and fast forward to 2000, you know, Lil' Kim finally dropped the Notorious B.I.G. on June 27, 2000. And then she had this song, the title track alone, where she continued not just throwing shots at Lil' Kim, but she also threw shots at Shine too. Shine was the newest member on Bad Boy Entertainment, who got a lot of similarities to the late great Notorious B.I.G. just based on his voice and his flow. And Lil Kim raps about Foxy. She said, and I quote, "This chick running around with this stink-ass gap and them fake-ass raps having panic attacks. You in the star and your record company know that. How you make all this money and get this far and blow it? I'm a businesswoman now, so I'm not concerned. I bet on little C's before you and your firm."
MC, girls say they different, but you see, in all actuality they wanna be me. This chick running around with a stink ass gap and fake ass raps having panic attacks. You ain't a star, and your record company know. How you make all this money, get this far and blow? I'm a businesswoman now, so I'm not concerned. I bet on little C's before you and your firm. If this was back in the days, I would've been smacked you, and I'm getting money now. My bitches in the hood, I get at you. Stop paying these niggas to write you.
You know, and with this one right here too, she's like making fun of the fact that despite the sales that China Doll was getting, it quickly went down the charts and everything. And also around this time too, you know, Foxy was also getting more into beefs with a lot of other female rappers like Queen Latifah, Eve, Left Eye, just to name a few. While Kim, at the end of the day, she was cool with a lot of her other peers as well too. Like, yeah, she did have her situations here and there, but compared to Foxy, you know, at that time, Kim was cool with like a lot of other people and shit too. And Foxy was pretty much angry by that diss track right there that she got on the song with Capone and Noriega from their reunion album on a song called Bang Bang. Now this song right here was like one of my all-time favorite, not just one of my all-time favorite songs from Capone and Noriega, but just one of my all-time favorite responses when it came to this whole beef as well. Damn ho, here we go again. Pop shit like a cot, lightweight as your rocks, bitch. You talk slick, fuck all that sneak shit. You and Diddy, y'all kill me with that subliminal shit, bitch. Why you frontin' and kicking that street shit? Please impress me, go back to that freak shit. You know what I'm saying? Just
sling twist out, gamble on the block with pits out. Kept my work in my bitch house, right in the closet. Out in front, I bring the drama, nigga, right to the projects. When it's cold, I remain the hottest. I bring the thug niggas, you bougie, I leave blood all on your products. Niggas' lifestyle deserve Oscars. You so funny, clean kingpin, and ain't even fucking with whole money. I'm gangster, till the jail wounds. Check my records, I keep a stash grip for armor, where I select my weapons. The strong mind, stay crime infested. I'ma get straight to the message. I spit reckless, and I rep my necklace.
Getting back at the subs that, you know, that Kim was throwing to Charlie Baltimore, which Foxy thought was aimed at her. You know what I'm saying? So, and what's also interesting about both tracks was the fact that both of them took or interpolated MC Light's 10% diss, you know what I'm saying, to their own effect. Which you guys should know, MC Light's 10% diss was a diss track aimed at Internet. You know, that's another episode I should be doing sometime soon. So right after that time, you know, a few short months later, things really took a left turn. So on February 26, 2001 at 3 p.m., Lil Kim was at a New York radio station, Hot 97, and once she left, a shooting broke out, and about 20 shots was fired between two groups of 3 men. One of the men was actually Capone, who was actually one half of Capone and Noriega, who was there to promote DJ Clue's new album, The Professional 2, which also featured Lil Kim. And there was an affiliate by the name of Efren Ocasio, who was part of Capone's entourage, who got shot in the back. Lil Kim, Capone, they all denied the involvement of the shooting. But you know, there has been many speculations about what had happened. Some people thought that this was retaliation against Lil Kim. You know, a retaliation against, you know, Foxy Brown just due to the fact that Foxy dissed Lil Kim and shit too, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, this actually took the beef to another proportion. Now, Foxy Brown has said that she tried to reach out to Lil Kim in order to set a truce. And she said, and I quote, "I really don't know how it started, but Russell and I got together and I said, Russell, I want to call a truce. I want to have a sit down with Kim. I don't care what it is. Let's just end it. We can't even do a collaboration. We're bigger than this. If it has to start with me, let it start with me." Unquote. And it's been reported that Lil Kim has actually not responded to Foxy Brown. Matter of fact, at this time, Lil Kim, you know, she had pretty much, you know, didn't want anything to do with Foxy Brown. And she also didn't want anything to do with Bad Boy Entertainment, you know, because at that time they had a falling out. And I want to say they had a falling out just based on the beginning was probably just business minds, and then of course, you know, Diddy promoting Shine and shit like that too. More on Diddy later on and shit too, just letting you guys know. So also too, when it came to the Junior Mafia crew, she also fell out with them. And she fell out with them because of the fact that while Lil' Kim was going through like her trials and everything, she pretty much perjured herself on trial. And Lil C's and Banger, you know what I'm saying, who was also known as larceny, they testified against Lil' Kim, and this caused Lil' Kim and her manager D-Rock to be sent to jail. And Lil' Kim pretty much was just angered at the fact that, you know, they had to sell her out like that. But, you know, she took it with stride and everything, even though, like, she did pretty much call them snitches on her 2005 album, The Naked Truth. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that was very interesting. And meanwhile, when it came to Foxy Brown at that time, too, you know, she was actually, you know, prepping the release of the Broken Silence album. That album had came out in July 17, 2001. That was a very, very great album. That might be my favorite Foxy Brown album. And, you know, that was a huge improvement off the China Doll album, you know what I'm saying? The album actually peaked at number 5 on the Billboard 200 and number 3 on the R&B Hip Hop Albums chart. And, you know, around that time, too, you know, there has also been, you know, talks that, you know, Foxy was trying to come out with the Ill Nah Nah to the Fever. And this was also interesting because it was said to also feature production from Puffy. You know what I'm saying? So Puffy was planning on working with Foxy Brown.
Man, listen, I'm good with a Source Award. Sean John Terry Cloth Air Forces on. Automatic start, but when the Porsche's on, the man broke. You can slip it since the balls can walk. I'm in the L coupe early when them doors lift.
But at the same time, too, around that time, Foxy was realizing that she had problems with her hearing. And, you know, this led it up being that her being deaf and stuff too, which affected her music career severely. So that was pretty messed up. That was pretty sad and everything too, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, Foxy Brown was interviewed by Doug Banks in 2003 when it came to actually like more about the Lil' Kim beef. And she claimed that Lil' Kim was actually jealous that Biggie wanted to include Foxy Brown in a Junior Mafia collective. And she also said that she was planning on doing a tell-all book on the feud that was supposed to have came out on Christmas, but that actually never came out. She said, and I quote, "Kim is the only female artist that keeps me on my toes. She's the only one that I can look at, and at any other artist that says they don't have the other one person that keeps them driven is lying," unquote. But yeah, but back to this whole Foxy almost joining Junior Mafia thing. You know what I'm saying? That was pretty much like said by like a couple of other people in her camp too. And I gotta also take it back to what Clark Kent said in an interview about how Daddy Yo, he was actually one of the orchestrators of the whole Junior Mafia. He had plans that Foxy was going to go to Junior Mafia and shit too. Clark Kent was pretty much unsure if Junior Mafia would have had a two-woman army with pretty much all them guys and shit like that too, but that has been said over the years, so that's very interesting. So fast forward to March 4, 2003, Lil' Kim dropped her third album, La Bella Mafia, on Atlantic Records, which she also had her own record label, Queen Bee, under that, you know what I'm saying? This is a fucking album, to be real with you, peaked at number 5 on the US Billboard 200 and number 4 on the top R&B Hip Hop Albums chart. This is not really a bad album, to be real with you. It had some missteps here and there, but, You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's way better than Notorious K.I.M. I'm gonna be real with you about that. Now, what this many people don't know is the fact that this album made history because the last track on the original version called Came Back For You, which was produced by Kanye West, that was not only a diss to Foxy Brown, but that was actually the first diss song to be nominated for a Grammy. You know what I'm saying? So that should be noted for something right there.
Now you know if anybody knows, I know. But since you feel like that this evening, sit down and drink some champagne with me and let me rap to you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am the one and only Queen Bee. After me there will be none. But you could call me Miss White. Most people know me as Little Kim, the head of the M.A.F.I.A. Oh, shout out to my girl Victoria Gotti and the whole Gotti family. Stay up. This time around I ain't taking no shit. This time.
And so, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, by that time, you know, the years to come in 2005, Lil' Kim would end up being sentenced for her incident, you know, that whole shooting incident. And the thing about that nature was she was convicted on 3 counts of conspiracy and 1 count of perjury. And she was actually sentenced for a year in prison with 30 days home detention upon release from custody and 3 years of probation. So she was sentenced in July of 2005 and she ended up being released on July 3rd, 2006. Literally serving a whole year. And by that time, you know, once she got out, you know, she did not really want to have anything to do with Foxy Brown anymore. You know, she felt like Foxy was just a snake and she pretty much like set her up, you know what I'm saying? So there's that. So fast forward to 2005, Lil' Kim ended up dropping her full studio album, Naked Truth, on September 27th of 2005. This album pretty much peaked at number 6 on the Billboard 200 and also peaked at number 3 in the R&B Hip Hop Album Chart. You know what I'm saying? And it peaked at number 2 on top rap album charts as well too. This album is probably best known for the fact that Benzino gave this album 5 mics. All I'm gonna say is stay tuned for that review. That's all I'm really gonna say for right now. But yeah, they had this one song called Quiet, which features The Game, where she was throwing shots at, again, Foxy Brown. She was throwing shots when she said, and I quote, "Hoes want to go to jail till I pay them for their nails. Who you trying to be, man? It couldn't be me." And this is a very interesting element because the fact that this was referring to, you know, Foxy Brown, where she had that incident with like the nail salon. And what I mean by that is, 2004, Foxy had gotten into an altercation with 2 manicurists in a New York City nail salon. And pretty much, you know, it all happened with like a assault happening and shit like that. And she ended up getting 1 year in jail for violating her probation in September 7th, 2007, you know what I'm saying? So that was a pretty interesting case that happened around that time too. So by the time the late 2000s happened, you know, Lil' Kim and Foxy was pretty much like in their own corners and shit like that too. Like I mentioned before, they threw shots at one another like during mixtapes and shit, but things were relatively quiet. Plus, you know, like female rappers at that time, you know, some of them was just like either doing other ventures, like, you know, Eve was doing her acting thing. You know, Missy Elliott had a little hiatus as well too. You know what I'm saying? Of course, you know the whole story of Lauryn Hill and shit too. So there wasn't really like that many female rappers making it until, you know, once we got to like the late 2000s, early 2010s with Nicki Minaj. And fast forward to 2011, Lil' Kim, you know, dropped a little mixtape called Black Friday. And this was a very, very, very interesting take because of the fact that, you know, when it came to the whole Black Friday mixtape, majority of the shots was aimed at Nicki Minaj. You know what I'm saying? But Kim also made it known that she was going to throw some shots at Foxy Brown too. You know, she had a line where she says, I draw back, I'm a Brooklyn thorough bitch, from my borough bitch. Never been the type to have beef and try to sell shit. I ride out till the wheels fall off and my niggas squeeze till the last shell go off. You know what I'm saying? Which pretty much she been saying that she's always known to hold her own when it comes to beef and shit too, you know what I'm saying?
If I whistle, their pistol whip you in all 5 boroughs. I'm from Brooklyn, I be everywhere comfortably. Now who pumped you and told you to come romp with me? You the type to run your mouth and then run from me. I'm popping off in your hood with no...
And it was also like around this time too, like Foxy and Nick Minaj also getting more cool around this time too. So Foxy caught wind of the text of Kim sent to her on Black Friday, and she dropped her own song called Massacre in the same year in 2011. And she had lines like, first a chick wanna hate on Foxy, 10 years later now she hating Minaj. Bear witness to the rise and the fall of Miss Kimberly Jones, unquote. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, they were throwing some shots at one another. And then fast forward to 2013, when they were having like the Summer Jam 2013, and Fabulous was supposed to have been performing there, and he had an idea that he wanted to bring out Lil' Kim and Foxy Brown, hoping to squash the beef on stage. But see, there was a lot of complication when it came to that. So Fabulous ended up, you know, bringing that Lil' Kim out, and pretty much everything was going good. The next thing you know it, Foxy Brown never showed up. There's been plenty of stories and stuff like that too, you know what I'm saying? Like, Foxy pretty much said that the reason why she never showed up to the Summer Jam, it was because she felt that she wanted the whole squashing of the beef to be quote-unquote real. And she also spoke about her feud with Lil' Kim, and she pretty much called Lil' Kim's actions, and I quote, a malicious intent. She said, and I quote, it's a touchy situation because I have a lot of respect for Fab. My brother and Fab are like brothers, and we're all from Brooklyn, so I don't want to really go there. But let's just say that it wasn't orchestrated properly, and when you have something of that magnitude, I understand. I have a brand. I'm an intelligent girl. I understand the epicness of those two huge, the biggest female rappers in the game that changed the game, come together and touch mics. It's phenomenal. But somewhere along the way, some part of that has to feel real. It has to be real. Unquote. So, you know, that was Foxy's side of the story. So Lil' Kim, you know, she was interviewed by MTV about, you know, the whole Summer Jam mishap. And Kim literally just basically said that they were never really supposed to be on a stage together. It was just pretty much all for Cat.
Make one thing clear. We were never, ever supposed to be on that Summer Jam stage together. Ever. That was not true. She was coming out on an earlier song and earlier in his set, and I was coming out on a later song, and that's how it was. And that's just what it was.
That's
you know
all
what I mean?
it was.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, come on. Like, no. No.
Yeah, well, when I heard it was going to happen, I was like, damn, what an amazing moment that would have been. And did y'all talk? You and her never talked about it.
Yeah, for me, it would have been an amazing moment.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So much damage has been done.
Okay.
So much evil things have been done.
You know what I mean? Even if it was salacious or scandalous, there was some kind of like validity, a piece. Like now there's just like, it's just totally erroneous and buffoonish rumors that are just like, where do these people get this stuff?
Now fast forward years later in 2021, the whole Versus thing was supposed to be similar and orchestrated. That was very popular, especially when it came to the whole pandemic. And plenty of artists have came together, you know what I'm saying? And you know, with the success of the Gucci Mane and Young Jeezy Versus, you know, there was rumors that they was trying to have a Lil' Kim and a Foxy Brown Versus and whatnot too, you know what I'm saying? Which that would have been something interesting, but you know, that never really came together too. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's been trying to hype that up for months and on end, but you know, that shit was never really gonna happen. But Swiss Beats, he pretty much just said, no, it's not been confirmed about that, and that was pretty much the end of that, you know what I'm saying? So, which leads me to the end of this fucking video. To this day, Lil' Kim and Foxy are still going at it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, they're not like dropping diss tracks heavily like they were back in the day, but there's like no love lost between the two of them and shit too. And it's kind of crazy too because of the fact that, you know, both of them both of them pretty much was at the top of their game, you know, back like in the late 90s to early 2000s, that they started off as friends, and the next thing you know it, the media, for some odd reason, either the media or something behind the scenes happened where they just weren't really fucking with one another no more, you know what I'm saying? And it's kind of crazy too, because it was just like, they pretty much laid the foundation for like what I like to call it the third wave of the female rappers, because the first wave I would say was probably between like 84 to 1990, when you had people like Foxy and Shantae, to the Salt and Peppers, to the MC Lights and the Queen Latifahs. And then you had like 1990 to 95, what I like to call the authentic period. You had cats like, you know, Yo-Yo and Nikki D, you know what I'm saying? You can probably even say, so girls, you could probably even say Boss as well too, you know what I'm saying? But then you had like the, what I like to call 1995 to maybe 2000, the early 2000s, where you had a whole abundance of female rappers as well, like Lil' Kim, Foxy, Lauryn Hill, Missy Elliott, Eve, you know what I'm saying? So, and I know like these days, like especially when it came to like the mid 20 teens to like somewhat the present, you had like a lot more female rappers, you know, breaking out with the Nickies and the Cardi B's and the Megan Thee Stallions, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, man, it's just like, it's pretty much a shame though, but you know what? Things happen. You got some very great diss tracks and jabs at one another, you know what I'm saying? Whether what happened on Wax or what didn't happen on Wax. But yeah, man, this has been a very interesting episode and whatnot too. I hope you guys enjoy it. Make sure you guys click and subscribe and stay tuned for more Why the Beef episodes. Peace.